What happens when a woman stops editing herself to fit in and starts writing her way back to wholeness? Pia Leichter didn't just write a book. She wrote her way out of the box she was put in. Today we talk about life changes, honesty, and the uncomfortable beauty of starting over. We go deep into what it means to feel discomfort, to give yourself a permission, and to use creativity as a lifeline. If you've ever felt stuck between who you were and who you're becoming, this conversation is for your invitation to begin again. Welcome to the Secrets for a Happy Life podcast. My name is Petra, Kmetec, Bitenc, and let's dive in. Hi Pia, it's really nice to speak with you. We've been talking a little bit before the show, and I think we're gonna make a wonderful episode together. I'm really curious about all your wisdom because your book is wonderful. And I would just like you to maybe in a short sentence introduce yourself, and then we'll dive in like a little bit more.
Sounds good. Well, thank you for having me on, Petra. I'm really excited to be here and to deep dive together into the world of creativity and how it can be applied to life. My name is Pia. I'm actually half New Yorker, half Montrealer, living in Copenhagen, but I'm a self-professed recovering nomad. I've moved around my whole life, lived in many different countries, and Copenhagen has been the place I decided to set roots. It's a longer story, or to drop anchor. But here I am. So that's me. I creatively partner with visionary rebels, unconventional dreamers, and inspired misfits to help bring their wild visions and ventures into the world to create an impact. The short, simple
Lovely
version
description.
of that. Thank you. The short, simple version is I help people create, whether a business, a brand, a book, a creative venture, and people who do things differently to make a difference. And I'm the founder of my business Collective Studio. Though I'm based in Copenhagen, I work with clients worldwide.
So you're like a Rick Rubin, but for the book side, creative side in writings and not the music.
Yeah. Well, that's funnily enough, one of my clients actually described the Rick Rubin of creative coaching, which was very kind, very sweet. I love Mr. Rubin. He's great. But yeah, I call myself a creative midwife. So I help people birth their next creative ventures and businesses and brands and dreams. It's really exciting work.
Your book is about creativity, and I would like to ask you what creativity means in your words.
Sure. Well, one of the reasons I wrote the book was to smash the myth that creativity is reserved for the chosen few and invite everyone to access and apply their innate creativity to their lives, really. And I think let's start with a definition of creativity we need to rewrite culturally. And that's that creativity is relegated to the world of artistic expression. Of course, that's one form of creativity and a very powerful one, but creativity is found in virtually every single domain. And so for me, creativity is how we solve everyday challenges in unique, novel, delightful sometimes, and useful ways. So that can be applied to so many different things. And why I think this is important is because what stops a lot of us from being creative is the belief or thought that, oh, well, I'm not creative. And I really want to do a collective rewrite that if you're human, you're an artist at play. You're a natural born creative. It's a part of our design. It's how our brain is wired. It's what enabled our survival. And it's really important, I believe, we start there with redefining what creativity is and then also our own creativity.
Yeah, because we block ourselves sometimes from expressing our creativity because we have so many fears about being judged, fears about being seen, fears about not being good enough, what others will say. And yeah, how did you manage to overcome this? If you had any of those fears.
Oh yeah, they visit. I mean, I think that's also part of being human. Fear. It comes with the territory. Well, I remember when I wrote my book, I had an idea in the beginning of what I thought the book should do and what it should be. And I was basically kind of like, I was getting in the way of my own creativity. So it was because I was forcing something. And it was only when I took a step back and I surrendered, I was like, okay, let's just see what emerges out of me. Let's just drop the expectation and just allow whatever I'm meant to write to come through. And that was an unblock, right? That was a way of just like, okay, let's see. And what I didn't expect to come through were so many vulnerable stories. I share stories of how I lost and found my creative power to invite people back into their own creativity. And I do that because I have a little rebel who lives within me, and I'm not really big on people telling me how to do things. I'd rather they showed me how they did it. That feels much more inspiring and warm to me and welcoming, and like it makes me curious. So back to your question, I remember when the final draft was done and I was about to go to publishing, and I had so much anxiety and fear about, oh my God, like, what if someone reads this book? And then all the way to the other side, what if no one reads this book? So it was really present because, again, I was very vulnerable in the book. And how I overcame it was action. Like, that's the answer, is just action and purpose. Let me not forget that. So when I reminded myself of what was the energy that was driving this book, which really was, I just wanted to make an impact in the life of, hey, one person, let's start there, right? And so if that's the purpose or the driving force, who am I not to share it?
Mhm.
Like, why wouldn't I take a chance if it's in service of someone else, whoever that
Mhm.
might be, maybe even them, I don't know, right? And so that gave me courage. And also, let people have their own experience. Who am I to dictate what someone's experience about me or my work should be? It has nothing to do with me, how they receive the book, how they, receive what I'm creating. It's an offering, and people
Mhm.
get to choose. People get to, okay, that I didn't like that. And I was afraid of that. I was afraid of someone going, that's terrible. And I did end up getting a 2-star review, and it did sting, but it also taught me that it's not as bad as I thought it was. I didn't die. I didn't crumble. Yeah, it hurt a bit. I had some Ben& Jerry's ice cream and I had a little moment, and then it passed, and it wasn't so bad, and it's okay. And I reminded myself, like, okay, well, that was that person's experience. Sure, that's okay. It's kind of, once we can let both praise and critique not affect us so deeply, like when we could say, like, okay, whether it's really, hey, I loved your book so much, great, they saw a reflection of themselves in my book and they saw something they really liked. Oh, your book, I really didn't appreciate. Maybe they also saw something about themselves reflected in the book, but they didn't appreciate that so much. I mean, it's really not my experience to dictate. And giving myself like these pep talks, reminding myself of my why, the impact I'm looking
Mhm.
to create, and that's part of the territory.
Pia, your story reminded me actually of Eat, Love, Pray book, and how everybody can just get something for themselves when they read it, because it's a personal story, and you try to share through your examples, through your stories, a life that can be happening if we allow ourselves, if we give permission to ourselves to, let's say, live a different life, more creative life. And this is also something that I'm trying to do with all these podcasts. So do you have maybe some creative routine? What do you do maybe in the morning, evening? How do you get into this flow? Because I try to write every morning, but sometimes it goes like really easily. Sometimes I need like a lot of time to just start.
Full transparency, I am still designing or like tweaking. Like, I haven't reached like a point where it's like, it's there, it's great, it's perfect. Like, because in life, there are a lot of different moving parts. So I've discovered a new choreography. Before, I would channel creativity, was channeled towards business. So when I worked in creative agencies, I worked as a creative director, copywriter, and, creative strategist. And all my creativity was channeled during work. And agency life is, a full-on life. So when I would come home, I kind of didn't leave a lot of room for my own creative projects until I launched Collective Studio. Well, when I launched Collective Studio, I was like, hey, wait a minute. I had a thought that was reoccurring. Like, what happens if I channel my creativity into building my own damn dream instead of someone else's. Like, boom. And I had that poking thought, nagging thought for a long time. And it took my mother passing suddenly in 2021 to really give me a shot of courage as one of her passing gifts, a reminder that life is finite, that one point in time we're going to lose it all anyway. So what do I have to be so afraid of?
Yeah.
What am I waiting for? And I think sometimes a lot of us can get into this waiting game. Like, maybe when this happens, I'll do that. And I was kind of caught in that because I was comfortable. I was working as a creative director at a purpose-driven creative consultancy. On paper, it was all good, but inside, I was yearning for something else. And it took life to shake me by the shoulders and go, hey, listen, this is a limited series, honey. It's now or never. Like, when are you going to do this? So, launch Collective Studio, and the first epiphany of, of course I can channel it into my own business. And then when I got the opportunity to write the book, I was like, oh, why not channel my creativity into creating my own projects and art to create an impact? Why wouldn't I do that?
Mm-hmm.
And it was only through that process that I realized I still had kind of a limiting belief or old story that was hanging around from childhood, that, it was dangerous because I watched my father. He's an abstract painter and artist, and, he was my hero because he followed his passion, but he struggled financially. He did a lot of odd jobs and different things just to allow himself to paint. So there was a story that I had started to script that, following your passion comes at a price, and it could be financially, challenging. There might be some truth to it, but the other truth is that my dad is a fantastic, gifted, amazing artist, but he's not the most stellar businessman. So, it's complicated, but as a kid, that's what I saw. So when I got older, I think I was afraid to just go all in on, I'm going to have my art or my creative work, support me. And now that belief popped up again, and I was like, oh, hell no, I'm rewriting that. Like, of course I can channel my creativity into creating art and just making stuff to create an impact, and just creating, not necessarily for commercial value, although of course that would be nice, but not as a primary. So where am I going with this? This is where I'm going to answer your question. So choreography. So now I'm in this beautiful place in my business where I create with others and I create for myself. And it's a new choreography. So it's like, what are the new dance moves to creating creative routines and rhythms that feed and unleash my creativity as I feed and unleash the creativity of others?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still learning. I'm still moving differently. Routines that really help me. And you know what? This is okay. Let me just finish my thought. I meditate every morning. That works for me. It's a way for me to meet myself and just ground and not get into busy mode, because I'm also a recovering speed queen after growing up in the Lower East Side, Manhattan. So it's just a way of nope, nothing needs my attention right away. Nothing is more important than this moment right here. And of course I can take it. That's been doing a lot of really important rewiring for years for me, because usually I would get out of bed and out I go, off to the races. And I don't even need an alarm clock. I'm like A-type. And so this was nope, I can sit. And then I also do morning pages, but morning pages, well, you didn't say morning pages. You said you tried to write. I don't try to
The
write.
morning pages.
Okay, cool. Because for me, morning pages is this can be awful. It doesn't have to make sense. It could be stream of consciousness. It could be wibble wobble waffle. That's not the point is not to create works of art. The point is to connect with myself. How am I doing? What am I feeling? What's present? What's going on? What dream did I have last night? What came up during meditation? Because it's a running joke I have with myself. Often I write while meditating, this thought came up, and just getting curious about myself. Now, if I someone asked me about routine recently and said that they had the impression reading my book that I was anti-routine, that routine kind of sucked the creative juice out of us. And I'm not anti-routine, I'm anti-rigidity.
Mm-hmm.
There's
That's
a difference.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I think
Mm.
routine is needed for any, especially a big creative venture like creating a podcast, writing a book. The routines are important and essential. But rigidity chokes, I think, creativity. Because when I get blocked, it's like, oh, I didn't write my morning pages today. I didn't do 3 pages. Who said I have to write 3 pages?
Hmm.
Like, I can write 1 page. I can write 2 sentences. What's really important is that I show up. And
Yes.
that practice of just saying, just show up, it doesn't have to be this. You just show
Sometimes
up
just
for
showing
yourself.
up has bigger impact than do all the steps that we have it in our mind that we need to do, because in order to be successful, to I don't know what.
Totally. I think sometimes we get in our way by putting these very high expectations or demands or
Mhm.
rigidity on what it's supposed to be and what success looks like. Oh, success is 3 pages. Like, who said that? Oh, I said that. Well, then I have a chance to redefine that. I can go, oh, no, it's not
Mm,
3 pages. It's me just showing up. And if I have less time, I still show up. Like, it's fine. And
yeah.
I'm still teaching myself that because, I can to bring the bar lower so that I can show up more frequently and feel good. Why wouldn't I
And
want
we
to do
as
that?
women, we also don't have every day the same energy like men have. I think all those systems were designed by men, but we have to translate it in our own cycle and in our bodies. And I think this is like we are wired differently. And when we accept that, I think it opens up so many doors because we allow ourselves to be that way. And we don't punish ourselves on the days that we have maybe a little bit less energy, or on the days that we are like really hyper, so that helped me a lot with my work.
I got the chills a couple of times listening to you say that. It's so important. It's so beautiful and it's so important, and I don't think it's a message that we hear enough. I mean, we do hear
Mm,
some like sync with your cycle and different things, but I think we need to hear that more. And then there's also the individuality that comes with it. Petra, you have your own energy. I have my own
mm,
energy, and some days my energy is going to be different, also because I'm a woman, but also because I'm Pia. Like, so if
yeah.
you take all this into account and remember that we get to decide what success looks like, we get to design how we move and how we experience things. If something starts to feel stressful, we don't have to push through. We could stop and go,
Mm,
what's not working here for me?
mm,
Like, this isn't working out. And also celebrating ourselves. I would say all of the clients that I work with and myself, I'm going to include myself, we don't celebrate ourselves often enough. The minute we
yeah.
get to a said goal or we achieve something that's really important, we jump on to the next. And it's like, hey, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Wow, look at what you just did. If you realize you just accomplished this big thing, can we sit in it for a little bit? Can we just like
Mhm,
bask in the glory of you just doing the thing and like cheers and the courage and creativity that it took to bring you here? Can we just like honor it? And we often don't. Like, what could you do to celebrate yourself? What would feel fun? Like, what could you go on and take yourself on a date? Like, what would feel like a
mm.
really good celebration of you? And I think I also forget to do that. And it's just really, really important because
I
then
think we are all
if we
guilty
don't,
of that.
right? But then we're just constantly moving towards the next thing without actually
Mm,
just savoring what we've done in the moment we're in. And like, what's the point of getting to the next thing if you don't savor it? Like, we're just
mm,
on this endless loop of chasing. And
yeah.
I think it's really important to break that pattern to enjoy.
What was one weirdest or most unexpected thing that ever helped you get inspired?
What's the weirdest or most, well, I think sometimes difficult life situations.
Oh,
So,
those. Yes.
when after getting fired from my job, everything was not going well. And I poured myself into work to avoid feeling and dealing with what wasn't working. And when I got fired, it was just like, the universe pressed the brakes on the car I was speeding and I got thrown through the windshield and I had to like look at all the pieces that were my life and go, what the hell? And I had a choice in that moment to continue. I could have got busy looking for work and stayed in the relationship and stayed in kind of the same energy I was in. But my intuition came up really loud in the space that was created because I had no job
Mm.
and told me like Trans-Siberian.
Mhm.
That's what you need to do, something different. You need a moment. And the Trans-Siberian was like a bucket list desire for me. And I really just needed something else. And so hey, I'm so happy that I listened to that voice. And I was like, okay, what do I got to lose? Everything feels, pardon my French, fracked. I'll say fracked. Everything
Mhm.
feels fracked. Like why wouldn't I do this thing? And I did. And I rediscovered my creativity on that train because I had time to myself. Thoughts, new ideas started to come, ideas for what I might want to like, just things started to flow again because I was
Mhm.
reconnected. And I guess that is kind of weird to say that life has to throw you through a windshield. It doesn't have to for everyone, but it's just one of those weird moments of like,
Yeah, but sometimes it does. For me, it also was like that. And I totally get when you were speaking about this pain going to the apartment and just, when the energy is not right and you don't know what to anticipate on the other side. I really felt you because I went through the same. And after getting like divorced from my ex fiance, so it was like complete new life, like reinvention of myself
Mhm.
and this promise to myself, I'm going to live a better life. So, yeah. And I think we need sometimes to just fall flat, bottom to the floor and just start fresh, start new without all these limitations that we grew up with. Yeah, to give
Mm,
ourselves freedom to explore what my soul really likes. What do I want?
mm.
What are my possibilities without those limitations that others put on me?
Absolutely. And what I'm hearing you say also is like sometimes it takes an extinction moment
Hmm.
where who we thought we were or what we might have been good at one point, it's gets destroyed in a way. Like there's some kind of destruction in order for our next creative evolution to
Hmm.
emerge. And it can be very exciting because then we get to redefine what the next phase or chapter looks like. We're kind of really sitting in the creative director's chair and going like, all right,
Hmm.
everything burned to the ground. So now what do I want to build? And doesn't
Yeah.
mean that we have to burn everything down to build, not at all. But it just is sometimes in life, it takes an extreme situation to shake at least me awake. It took something extreme to go, oh, hello. Like,
Yeah,
let's do
but you
things
know what
differently.
what I saw, I did a lot of coaching also with people, and usually something needs to happen. They need to feel the pain. Otherwise, when they are in
Mm,
that discomfort, but still in the comfort zone, they don't do nothing because the anticipation of unknown is so terrifying that they rather stick in the known, even if it's totally unpleasant. It's not
yep.
unpleasant enough.
Yeah,
So
it's true.
yeah, it just we need we can hear, like I heard a lot of those stories. Don't go, listen to me, you don't need to go to that route, just to start doing something before. But I was like, yeah, that's not my story. And I think it's transformation, it's like this hero journey. So you need to be like phoenix and just rise from the ashes, reborn.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of fulfillment that comes from
Yeah.
that because it's growth. And I think growth equals fulfillment. As human
Mm.
beings, I believe we have like this natural inclination to expand. There's a lot
Mhm.
that we gain from that. Like, ooh, who am I? What version of me is coming next? Like, what's the next thing I want to create? And that's what creativity is too. We get to
Mhm.
create the next version of ourselves while appreciating who we are in this moment as well. And we get to create the next version of our lives. Like we have one. So why would we
Mhm.
want the same, like to have the same autopilot things happening? Like, isn't it much more exciting, even though it's scary, to design anew and to be like,
Yeah.
okay, what's next for me? What do I
Mhm.
want?
What's next for you after the
Ooh, what
book?
a great question. I just launched the audiobook. So it was a few weeks ago I launched the audiobook. Yay! And
Congrats.
narrated by me. That was another, you said like how do you get out of your own way when you feel blocked? Like I think doing something new feels scary.
Mhm.
narrating my own book when I've never done that before. Felt like there were times it was fun, but in the beginning, hearing the sound of my own voice was really challenging. Here's the interesting thing. Halfway through the book, I started to like the sound of my voice for the
Yeah.
very first time ever. And I'm like, okay, she's kind of cute. Like it was really nice. And I think that's really the antidote. The antidote is to just show up, allow it to be whatever it needs to be. It doesn't have to be great. My first chapter was not great. I redid it because it was my first chapter. So of course, by the time I got to chapter 20, I was much better. I had improved. So it was the same with writing.
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
I rewrote the first few chapters. They required early chapters required the most editing work. By the time I get to the later chapters, the least, because you grow as a creative or you grow in whatever field, whatever it is that you're doing. But you'll
You
never,
find your
I don't want to
voice,
say
yeah,
never.
in a way.
Yeah, you don't, it's hard to grow if you don't start.
Mhm.
Like, because you're afraid of those first few chapters of being shit, and then you're like, well,
You're
I'm not
waiting
going to
for
do it. Well,
motivation to hit you.
oh yeah, you'll be waiting a long time, or just once in a while. So yeah, so what was your, now I got distracted. Where was I going with that? The
What's
question
next for you?
was, yeah, so what's next? So I just wanted to share that because it seemed somehow important to
And by the
anyone out
way,
there
I
who's,
really love when authors narrate their own books, because it's
mm.
totally different. It's somebody else is reading it. It just doesn't feel so personal anymore. It feels
And
weird.
looking at my book, I was like, there's no way someone else could read my story. Do you know, like
Mhm.
that wouldn't make any sense because it was actually the same. I invested in it and I worked with a producer and it was exactly the same cost to hire a voiceover artist, right? Or do it myself. So it
Mhm.
was like, I still, even if I had to pay more, I would have done it myself. But it was a very interesting, and in some ways it's that fear of the unknown is always going to be at the beginning. But if we just show up and walk through it, I think we'll discover unexpected delights. So I
Mhm.
just wanted to throw that in there. So what's next for me? So I'm working with a musician and producer, very talented, wonderful, creative named Tyler Bodkins, who we connected through my book. One of his friends I knew, and then he's like, I think he would love your book. You need to be in touch. And so we just a friendship started to develop, and then a new creative project developed. So he is creating tracks for each one of my poems in the book. So we're going to launch a spoken word album together. And it has been
Nice.
so much fun to create. We're almost done. So I'm hoping no later than the end of summer for sure it will be live. And it was so much fun to co-create. And I think that's also important to remember. Like, it's not all a slog. It's not all, like, parts of it is, but it also gets to be fun,
Mhm.
And this has been really fun to co-create with someone. And then what's next after that is I feel like there's a book 2 in me, fiction, not nonfiction. It's going to be some kind of experimental fiction. I don't know what, but I feel it kind of percolating within. So I
Mhm.
know that I am going to need to intentionally carve out space to just allow ideas or thoughts to flow or to see what comes up as I move forward. So I'm really excited about that. And then business wise, I'm still, of course, working with my amazing human clients. Be
So
fun to have an alien client too.
if the creativity were a mythical creature, what would be and why? You just
Oh my
started
God.
about fantasy books, so it just like clicked in.
Well, fiction,
Ah,
not
fiction,
fantasy.
fiction. Sorry.
Just no, it's okay. Just not another story where I expose all my insides. Maybe I expose them, but in a different way through the eyes of characters in a world, which I'm excited about. Mythical creature, creativity. It would be. Do you ever see the Never Ending Story? It's a very American kind of film
Mhm,
from the
mhm, mhm,
80s. Remember with the
mhm.
I don't know what
Yeah,
it is.
the
The
big
Never
thing.
Ending
I don't know. Yeah, yeah.
Story. Yeah, that big thing that the kid is the bird-ish flying creature. That
Yeah,
feels to me like creativity because it's freedom and it's
yes.
imagination
I like that.
and it's discovery and, like, yeah, being able to have a different perspective and travel to different places and to take people with you because there's that little
Mhm,
boy who also feels it, right? So he's like, woo! Like, you really feel in that moment when they're like flying.
mhm.
Um, that it's a co-creation. And I think that's what creativity is too. So yeah, that's
Yeah.
my mythical creature for creativity.
Nice. I haven't think about that one for a long time, so thank you for bringing it up.
Strange one just popped into my head. It's like, oh, okay.
What would you say? What is your secret for a happy, joyful life?
Yeah. My secret for a happy, joyful life is to find out, take a step back. The meaning of life to me is to fully live it,
Hmm.
to fully be alive while we're here for this one life. Defining what being fully alive means is a very individual affair. So for me, like a happy life is also defining what is a life where I feel fully alive. Like, what does it look like? What does it feel like? And asking those questions and then creatively directing the answers. And to go like, okay, then I'm going to do this thing. And it's also risk and awe and building our capacity to be in uncertainty for me, because in uncertainty is where we grow.
Yeah.
And as I said, like the word happy, I love your show. I'm not saying you should rename it. I'm just saying for me, the word happy,
Yeah, it's
I
more
prefer,
joyful, satisfied, like,
or fulfilled.
feeling
I
the
like
fulfilled.
fulfilled.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because
Mm,
fulfilled, if something is fulfilling, like let's say when we're living in alignment with what we value most or our values, life feels very fulfilling.
mm-hmm.
And doing that might not always feel joyful or happy. So let's say if your core value is family and one of your close relatives is dying and you decide to go on sabbatical or leave your job if they don't let you do that to go take care of them or to walk them home. Now, that might not feel very happy because but you'll feel very fulfilled because you're
Mm,
honoring something that really has deep, deep meaning for you. And so
yeah,
fulfillment to me feels like a really juicy word because happy is an emotion and it's fleeting, like all emotions. It comes and it goes. And so if I just try to have a happy life or find happiness, I'm kind of playing that striving game of like, well, this isn't good enough here because I'm not happy. So I need to get to the next thing. And
mm-hmm.
I'm very much teaching myself to really be appreciative of exactly where I am while I stretch towards what's next, not to just be here, but to like have it both, hold both in my hand. And so the secret to a happy life or a fulfilling life is growth, curiosity, creativity, and getting connected to self and what is really asking to be born next and what's lighting me up now and what's making me feel spine tinglingly alive and running experiments because the answer will change.
Yeah.
It's not a fixed answer. It's not like, oh, it's just one thing because we're changeable, fluid beings.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's what life is. It's just asking that question and getting curious about the answer and living our way into it. That
Yeah.
was a big,
Thank you.
wordy answer, but that was my
Thank you
answer.
for sharing. Yeah, secrets for a happy life. No, it just rhymes good. Yeah, but the meaning is like broader, like, yeah. Anything else you want to share with the audience? Like something that we haven't talked to? Where do they
Hmm.
find you? Where are you the most active if they want to come in touch and like reach out to you?
Where am I most active? Redefining my relationship to social media and how I connect with people. I have a weekly newsletter that's
Mm-hmm.
for me it's like kind of like your podcast in the sense that it's a way of having longer form content that creates deeper conversations. So that's a really nice way to stay in touch with me. Otherwise, collective.studio is like home base. It's where you can book a chemistry call if something resonated and you're like, yeah, I want to see if we're energetically aligned. There's something that I really want to create and I would love a partnership to do so. And then there's everything about my book there, which is available on Audible and Amazon and bookshop.org and all the places. And yeah, I think those are probably, I'm also on LinkedIn and a little bit on the Instas, but I'm really looking for like those deeper connections or even just, sending an email, how you doing? Or jumping on a Zoom call, let's have a chat, reaching out Substack is a really fun place to be.
Substack is really nice. Yeah, I love it.
Yes, me too. So that's kind of where I'm not. See, when I was writing my book, I was on an elimination diet because I needed to
That's good.
focus on my book, right? So content elimination, especially nonfiction, because I was writing nonfiction. And that meant social media turned down, way down, because I had to focus on creating and not just consuming. So I really needed to rebalance the scales. And even though in the beginning it felt really scary in the sense that there was a lot of fear, like, oh my God, if I'm not on social media, what's going to happen to my business? And, not going to be relevant, and what's going on. And well, the book was so important to me that it drowned, the fear wasn't loud enough. It was like, yeah, it's fine. I'm sure life will be okay. And it was. Not only was it okay, but my creativity thrived because I wasn't consuming more than I was creating. Yeah. I was creating much more than I was consuming. And then when I finished the book, it felt really hard to get back into this kind of consumption cycle. Though I love building community and talking with people. So that's the beautiful part of it. But this kind of presence, always on kind of presence, was no longer feeling very aligned. And so I'm still in the state of exploring what are other ways of building community, what are other ways of being in contact. And the verdict's out. I don't know. But so far it feels really good because I think our creativity also needs that. We need to be conscious of what we're digesting. Yeah, we need space. I think sometimes there's an overflow of information in the world, where there's so many things that get thrown our way, and it could be very addictive. So, listen, it's just technology in the sense that we get to choose how we wield it and use it. It's not neither good nor bad. It just depends on if we can, use it in a way that's helpful and not harmful for us and our creativity.
Any parting words for the audience?
Parting words. I think I would invite people to become the creative director of their lives. And to do this is like the first act. I'm sure you have many acts of being creative director of your life for sure. But the first maybe conscious act of really creatively directing your next scene would be to imagine, what do you want that scene to be? The very next thing you do. If you were to creatively direct that moment, like music, like sound, set design, costume design, location scouting, like activity. And that could look like for me, I'm gonna go down. There's a beautiful museum of modern art near water where you can also go for a swim, quite cold. And I'm gonna wear this particular outfit, and I'm gonna have this like playlist, and then I'm just gonna spend the day in this museum and look at me against the backdrop, and maybe I'll go for a swim. And you're really just creatively directing that moment that you're in. And that creates evidence that, of course, you can creatively respond to life, and you can creatively direct your next scene all the time, like your next and your next and your next. And I think that's really empowering. And it's a beautiful practice and way of reclaiming our creativity and sitting in the creative director's chair going, yep, like this is good. So that would be my parting.
Thank you so much for being here. It was a nice conversation. I really enjoyed it. And I'm wishing you a lot of good experiences still, and a big success with your book and whatever comes in your life. So thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Petra. Thank you for your energy and for holding such a beautiful space. And I wish you all of the success as well, and fulfillment and joy and happiness that comes with all your creations, including this podcast.